I guess on the area two LCM, I probably have more questions than answered. So I kind of just wondered what the scope of this was, and maybe it's something that we can take, Stephen, offline, just in the chat or something. Because I think here what if I'm reading it correctly, it's that you're looking at something that in the SDK for life cycle management is kind of a check thing, is it? Or is that what you were thinking of doing?
No, you have to upgrade, right? So, for example, let's say that you came from CR to the next. I mean, I think for now it's fairly straightforward.
Yeah.
Because for me, I mean, if you don't have a life cycle included, you are not having a solution in my view.
No. But I mean, even delete, you need to get working as well. So smoothly, So yeah, I suppose it's to think about the whole area. So I mean, what does
But I think we said it's out of scope, I think, for now, right?
Yeah. It'd be good to have some sort of it'd be good to have some sort of thinking about this maybe done in the R2 time frame, because I keep getting asked questions about this internally,
Yeah, I think even though it's out of scope, I think we should progress with the design document.
I mean, if you look to lifecycle management of the operator, because I think the discussion that we had why it's out of scope is because there was this relation between workload cluster and management cluster. I think that's the part that is out of scope from my point of view. Yeah. But any operator that we build or any SDK, if you cannot upgrade itself or lifecycle itself, then it doesn't work, right? So that's how I look at it. I think what is out of scope is the complete relationship with the management cluster, but what is in scope as far as I can tell is that you have to be able to upgrade and scale and upgrade the whole.
And we may well need, I mean, do we need an operator to manage that, or can we just work with some sort of, the design levels, support that in our operations, we actually have some sort of hooks for that. These are the sort of things we can think about.
It is a question which I asked at the very beginning of my participation in FAO, I think in Slack. I remember that I asked John, and he said, I asked, like, we are doing a version-based control or configuration management of the configuration using our config sync and all those things. I asked that, what about the actual controller? Because it's a code, right? So why don't we do a version control for these codes? So at the time there was an answer like, okay, the expectation from the NAFU community is that it has to be redeployed manually or something like that. So I think in that line.
Wait, I think we have to be careful, right? Because see, I mean, if there is a new package with a new version of that operator, it will basically be deployed with a new version, right? I mean, we have that mechanism in place. The config sync does that.
Config sync does that?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And if the images are changing?
Yes. Yeah. It will. Of course, the workload cluster needs to get access to the image, right? But you have that's a separate thing. But if you get a new deployment and you have access to the image, it will redeploy and you will get an upgrade. Yeah.
Upgrade of the operator?
Yes.
Okay.
No, so what happens? The operator get upgraded when the new operator is published. So that's just one of what I asked.
Now, data migration, of course, data migration from the old NF to the new NF and all of that is something else. But
but even that we have, Liam, right? Because there is you have like webhooks, right? So for me, that's what I'm saying. For me, the lifecycle management of the operator and its resulting resources, that has to be in scope, because otherwise you don't have an SDK, from my point of view. If you don't do that, you don't have a solution.
Correct.
Of course, what I think is out of scope, at least that's my understanding from Area 2, is that the interaction between the management cluster, like all the interdependencies from there to the workload cluster, that's a different discussion, I think.
Yeah.
Well, at the very least, when we load something, it has to make sure. From my view, when I wrote this, was the whatever is being hydrated down, the CL needs to agree with whatever is being ran on the operator, of course, at the other workload cluster.
Sure.
Right. So if you're upgrading your operator or upgrading, or there's a new version of Nefio, then we have to ensure that it is actually compatible versions between the two.
Yeah, then at design time, then we put something in the SDK for that for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, but whether it's in R2 or not is a whole other question.
Well, so
Okay. Yeah.
there's a check that needs to be in Nefio, but then B, for the SDK, it needs to encode the metadata in metadata field somewhere that this is the supported versions. That was so the SDK should do that. At the same time, because we have that need, someone from the SDK team would have to go into SIG2 and basically start building compatibility check controllers and so on, so they can interpret that let's say you encode that into a CLD format, some sort of CL format. They will be able to read that CL and actually know that the operator and the NF package are running at the versions that are compatible all across the board.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, that is the entire package then, and say if you have certain versions of NS that
Because the
certain
operator and
versions
NF
of
package
NS,
are generated by SDK, so they should encode something to let
to say that.
the
Okay, so
operator, the controller, let's call it the controller, the compatibility controller that sits on Nefio management cluster would have to be able to read that information from the package and then saying that, oh, now I can see they're all working together, so it's great.
okay, so I mean, so that UPA, so an SMF and AMF should work towards that certain version of UPA.
Or the AMF package from vendor X needs to, and the operator for AMF for vendor X needs to work with the Nefio versions of AMF deployment. CL.
Oh, okay, yeah, and then of course you have better than such and such type thing, and all of this, and it gets very complicated.
You have a management cluster things for vendor X AMF, then the vendor X AMF controller that runs on the management cluster would also be compatible, has to be compatible with whatever is going to be running or already running on the going to be running because you're controlling the load. They're going to be running on as far as operator goes. Yeah. So operator has the NF package has dependencies on the operator. Or the operator has dependency on it. So then the operator has the dependencies on what's running on the management cluster. So we just need something to make sure that all of these are exactly what we meant it's supposed to be before we actually boot everything up.
Okay, there is some sort of manifest in that will work against. Grant. Yeah, I can understand the sort of thing you're talking about now. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was my update.
Right then, any other update on any other task or clarification can be asked now?
Yeah, did someone look at the tool that I shared with CapGen on item 3?
Probably no one did.
Yeah.
I'll do that. So we'll see that, and then we'll.
My plan was to do a bit of a intro, to present, but then I didn't prepare the slide because after the meeting. But
because the point is, so you have something great, and then the next thing would be having an end-to-end tools that would actually include all this and how.
Yeah. And by the way, I don't think it. Yeah, Stephen, it doesn't do everything that we want, right? So just to be clear.
Okay.
So
that's also fine. We'll build on what's already there. I mean, obviously, if you have something, we should build on top of it.
To give you a very quick thing, what the tool does today, right? Is today we want a cap package, right? That is the idea. Okay. What the tool does, it takes. Right, so basically, you could avoid. Today in the QBuilder project, you get this config directory where you have customized files and what have you, right? So what this tool does, it basically provides an alternative to that. So in other words, you could decide in your scaffolding project to no longer do the config thingy, which is customized, and only deploy a cap package. So basically add the tool to your make file and you will generate a capped package.
Okay. Okay.
That's what the tool does. Now, in order to do so, there is, so what I did is I used the same philosophy as kept, is that everything has to, let me take a step back. What I don't like with Customize personally and with QBuilder as a whole is that for permissions, you have to put it in this file. For this, you have to put it in this file. Then Customize is a little bit wiki-wacky type of tool, right? So, that's my personal perspective. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but it's a little bit all over the place. And so what I decided to do in order to render a project like that, you basically have Kubernetes so you basically have configuration files that tell you what that package should do, right? So in other words, I built a config file, like what I call a function config. So you can basically put a directory where you put all the things that you need, like permissions and stuff like that. And I use standard Kubernetes resources, so I didn't change anything there. And it takes that as the input, and it basically renders everything out of it. What I did do as well is I split CRDs from regular resources, because I have the feeling that, or at least from the discussion that some of the guys from Verizon said at the time, is that this will be installed independently of the operator, and there's a dedicated team that does that. I generate the RBAC resources as well. I believe the guy from Verizon wants to also split it, because their security team doesn't allow to be installed from the operator itself. It has to be a separate team. I did not split that out in a separate package, but that would be fairly straightforward to do. But what I would like people to do is basically have, so the philosophy compared to QBuilder is different, from a sense that there is only one place where all the configuration files is, and there's not like scattered all over the place. That's one fundamental difference. And then I worked around some of the issues with kept and stuff like that that they have, because I use sub packages and stuff like that, and there are some issues there, but I worked around that. But that's kind of what the tool does.
Okay.
In a nutshell. So and I think the README of the tool is trying to describe how it works. But I didn't do all the resources yet. I think daemon set I didn't do yet, but that would be so very easy to do. And namespace, I took the approach of the fact that a namespace is not a given in a project. So it's an add-on. You can either decide you need it or not. So it's not by default there, because I've seen a number of projects where namespace was not, let's say, desired to be part of the package. But these are all things we can discuss, by the way.
Okay.
That's what the tool does.
Okay. Okay. No, it's a good starting point to explore. Okay.
All right,
Yeah,
then.
I mean, we can still wait for your presentation, but yeah.
Yeah.
But I think we should take a look and see how to push that in for integrating, and
Yeah,
as
I
well
think
as
the
like
README,
the list of
and we are using.
enhancement.
By the way, Stephen, we are using it already. By the way.
Yeah, I would imagine you build it to use it. You're not building it.
No, but in FU we are using it already. But that
Okay.
doesn't mean that is the tool that we have to use. But for example, John and myself, we use it in November already, because it's and now when we generate the packages, we also use it.
Okay.
And not for free
yeah.
5GC, I think,
Oh,
but
you wrote it for
other
any summit?
Yeah, for only Sonnet, we used it already there. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay.
Because I didn't do any change since a year about the tool, basically. But we can. But that was the objective of it.
Yeah, no. So I was a little surprised too. Other than cap, for cap, other than create, you can't really do much else on the tool chain. So that's
yeah. But this one will regenerate. So if you basically I change the config files, it will regenerate the new resources. So everything will be yeah. It will take care of that as well. By the way.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, we can look at that and see what enhancement we want. Because the idea is, if someone, so obviously you're generating the package for operator. That's fine. It's actually a little less elaborate, I would think, for that. But then the other one is when a NF vendor defines the NF vendor specific extension CLDs, we would like to be able to package that, and then that package should have the CL of those extension resources, so that whatever controller or specialization pieces would be able to insert values inside that in the future. So that,
and there is some
basically
improvement. There is some improvement to be done there because the CRDs are taken locally, so we could basically decide to import the CRDs from another place, for example. So that could be also, that's an enhancement that we can also do, for example, but which is not there at the moment, but it would be, yeah, we just have to add the location where they are, and then the tool basically picks them up. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
That, yeah, I've used Cube Builder, so I need to see what's the difference, like what are the capabilities it provides. Yeah, so we'll have a look in that.
I'll do a quick demo, but then you see it different. But yeah, the philosophy is not. I didn't decide. I could have decided, but I did not, because Cube Builder has a very specific way of doing that. So they have a manager that they reference, right? And it's very specific and picky. So I found that, yeah, okay, but that's a personal view. I don't know what you get. It's a bit. I discussed it with John at the time, and
yeah, I don't think Cube Builder builds some things that looks like a cap package for A, and yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't.
Well, because it's a mismatch of multiple tools that achieve the end goal, right? So that's what Cube Builder is at the end of the day. So it's not one thing; it's basically a mismatch of a mixed match of various tools that then come to a certain outcome, right? That's what they do. And yeah, they have a very so. For example, you can only have one manager, right? In my case, I can build an operator with 5 managers, not a problem. So there were some, let's say, limitation that you have with Cube Builder that I try to resolve.
Okay.
Or if you want an operator with a daemon set, I didn't do, but for example, a stateful set and a deployment or 3 or 5 deployments, you can also do that. Which you cannot do in Cube Builder today.
Okay. Okay. Sounding interesting. We can have a look onto that for sure. Yeah, you shared it, right? In the
Yes, I think it's right there.
I shared on the link
on the link under. Yeah. No, even on the document.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's right there.
Okay then. Sure. I'll look at that. All right. So any more update for anyone? Any clarifications?
Yeah, for the rest, I'm doing a tool. I'm building a proof of concept, but it will incorporate all of it, right? So it will incorporate 5, 2, and 1.
Onboarding help charts.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's part of the operator, right? So it will, but based on the code that I shared, right? So it's basically rendering it, but doesn't act upon it. So it basically uses Helm just as a rendering mechanism, but that's it.
Okay.
So it includes 5, 2, the lifecycle management of the operator, not the interdependency of management, and then number 1.
Okay.
But so that's why I list myself only in 1.
Okay. Okay then. Nice. I think you made good progress already.
Yeah.
Okay. Fine. Then we need to look into this, and maybe in the next meeting we can get more clarification and more question and answer for sure once we start seeing this thing, right? So maybe next Tuesday we'll have a better sync up with more people, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay then.
I guess we'll be more kicking things off then. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, go ahead. Yeah, I mean, feel free to, as you can see what needs to be done, you can file GitHub issues. Let me put up a repo for this, and then I'll let you know. You can file issues on that repo.
Perfect. Sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.